Hi, Deacon Ed McCormick here on the last part of our series on understanding Jesus' passion and crucifixion according to Mark. In this episode, we're now watching as Jesus is walking towards Calvary. He's so weak that Simon the Cyrene has to carry his cross. He makes his way through the city of Jerusalem, out what's known as the Gennath Gate, and then outside this city, he goes to what was a defunct quarry, but is now this massive mound of stone that was not quarried because it wasn't good stone, but the Romans use it as a place for crucifixion because it's right by the city gate and people would be passing by. And the New Testament writers are very succinct in their description. They simply say he was crucified. There's no long drawn out description of his suffering, his bleeding and dying. He was crucified. And the first episode that we see here is Jesus is nailed to the cross and the cross is raised up, and there are two other people crucified with him. And passerbyers come by. First some crowd comes by and they're mocking him, and the chief priests mock him. The two people who were crucified with him mock him. And they're mocking him, and saying, if you were the Son of God, come down from the cross. You've saved others, can't you save yourself? And his clothes have been taken from him. He is lying, he's up there naked, suffering terribly. And he's up there from 9 a.m. until 3 in the afternoon, an incredibly excruciating long time. And three events happen while he's up there dying. The first is at noon, there is an eclipse. This dark cloud comes over the whole scene. Now, this is not the cloud of evil that I've been talking about. It symbolizes something very differently. The second thing is, as he dies, we're told that the curtain in the temple on the other side of the city, the curtain that divides the people from the Holy of Holies, is torn in two. And then the last thing we're told is that one of the soldiers, the centurion, is looking at him and says, surely this was the Son of God. Now, those three events, the dark cloud coming over, the tearing of the curtain, the proclamation of Jesus' true identity, are powerful events in which Mark is interpreting what this scene is about. On the one hand, it is the culmination of the torture and execution of Jesus by the Romans. It's the culmination of his being betrayed and handed over, the Jewish leadership handing him over. This is what the Romans do to people who seem to be dangerous, even though it looks like he was completely innocent. So it's the culmination of those horrific events. It is also the culmination of the forces of evil coming down on him, and ultimately the forces of death. But once again, Mark is telling us this is not simply the forces of evil winning again. Instead, that cloud coming over is God the Father producing judgment on these events. It's God the Father's no to this form of evil, to execution and torture, to what's happening to his Son. This is God's prophetic no to what has happened here. The second thing is that temple curtain being torn in two. Now, I don't think that if you walked across Jerusalem and went into the temple, that the actual curtain was torn in two. No, for Mark, this is a symbol. This is a symbol that says that with the death of Jesus, that curtain that divided all people from the mystery of God has torn open. And now God is going to come down upon us. Remember how Mark's gospel starts. Jesus is baptized in the Jordan, and when he comes out of the Jordan, the heavens are torn open and the Holy Spirit comes down upon him. And Mark's gospel ends with the temple curtain being torn open. And now, through the death of Jesus, the very life of God can come upon us and free us from the forces of evil that have killed him. And finally, this identification of him as the Son of God and the title, the King of God. This is God's Son, his agent. He is the King of the world, through whom God is freeing us from all the forces of evil. Thank you very much.